Finding life a bit complex? Confusing? Aware that your old strategies aren't working? Why not ask Pam and Marilyn? This is the Irreverent Therapists, and we're here to add some clarity, humor, and a bit of what might be considered blasphemy to your day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Irreverent Therapists radio show. I'm Pam Hodeling, and with me is my partner in crime, Marilyn Bradford.
Hello, everyone, wherever you be.
We are so glad to be with you today and doing this show. Today, our topic is the secret of kindness. So I'm going to read our little blurb here. Is kindness a foreign concept to you? If a good friend asked you to please be kind to you, would you even know what it meant? What would the world be like if we all chose to be kind to ourselves? So we're going to take a look at what true kindness is and what it could contribute to your life. So, Marilyn, I was thinking about the show today as I was driving home to come and do this, and what came to my mind is what I grew up thinking kindness was, which is, growing up, it was like kindness is where you put everybody in before you. So kindness is letting somebody else have the big piece of cake. Or kindness is, not choosing what works for you so that somebody else gets what works for them. It was a very either or kind of thing. Like, I can be kind to you or I can be unkind to you. But there really wasn't anything where kindness involves both of us.
Well, and the thing, similar things for me in my childhood, kindness was always something that both parties would judge as good and sacrificing in some way. Giving your seat to an elderly woman or, not making a negative comment even when someone totally deserved it. It was all about goody-goody. It was almost like playing a role, like being the good girl, being the kind girl.
Yeah.
And all you did was kind of look around to see who you could help across the street but there was, it didn't necessarily create more for anybody. And I think that's one of the things that I've been looking at with what kindness is and isn't.
I'm so glad you put it that way, because, if you look at kindness as something that creates more for everyone, most of the things I grew up thinking kindness were about cutting off for yourself.
Yes.
It's where you're being selfless and putting other people before you, which is it's like a lessening rather than a creating greater.
Yes, I think that's a good way to look at it.
And very much what you said about a role, it's like you have the idea of what is kind and what isn't kind, and that you're supposed to be kind. What is it good? Little girls are made of sugar and spice and everything nice.
Right.
And so if you're kind, if you have the thought of really, I'd really like to punch my brother in the face, he's being so obnoxious, that is not kind and cannot exist in the same universe as being kind. So you have to either cut that out or choose to not be kind. It's, again, it just seems like very defined, very either or, you're living up to it or you're not, and you're having to judge everything you're doing.
Yes.
Am I being kind? Am I reaching the bar of whatever kindness is? And I'm only a good person worth knowing if I'm kind. There's so many judgments.
Oh, it's huge.
Oh my gosh.
When you were talking about punching your little brother in the face or whatever, that made me think of an instance where we had this really obnoxious neighborhood boy. He lived next door. He was younger than me. But he came over one day, and we had a basement like you do in the East Coast, and pestered me. And it had been made into like a game room kind of thing. And he wouldn't leave. I told him to leave. He wouldn't leave. Finally, I punched him in the face. And, of course, my mother made me go apologize. I'm like, but he wouldn't leave. It's like, it doesn't matter what the other person does to you. If you do anything like punch them in the face, you're being unkind. And actually, it may have been a kindness in another sense. Well, it could have been used that way. If he'd gotten the message, when you aggravate people too much, you're going to get bopped.
Right. Like if he'd gotten the mess, if you'd bopped him one and then he knew to like listen to your boundaries.
Yes, exactly.
You might have gone on to really enjoy him and having him over because you could end it when you needed to. And whereas if you have to put up with it, then.
Yes. No matter what.
Well, and see, for me, what I would say is it was so essential to me to be good that things like punching my brother in the face, I couldn't even allow that in my universe.
Really?
Oh yeah, like it was not on the table as something to choose or not choose, and who would judge me if I choose. It was just like, no, you cannot have that. So, and that takes a huge amount of cutting off yourself and the energy of suppressing what you're really feeling and all kinds of things.
Oh yeah.
To eliminate those kinds of feelings and things. Yeah, because that kind of stuff bubbles up. I mean, okay, this is totally off topic, but it's totally what's popping into my head. I can remember one of the first friends I had who had a baby. I can remember her and some other friends with, of hers with babies sitting around talking. And I remember her saying, sometimes I'm sitting there rocking in the rocking chair, the baby's crying and crying, and I just have this image of just tossing the baby out the window. And what was awesome was they were all saying, yeah, I feel that way too sometimes, and supporting each other in that. And, I know my friend's not going to toss the baby out the window, but just her willingness to own that she felt that way sometimes. Then when I had a baby, it was like, oh yeah, I could toss this baby out the window.
Well, a friend of mine said, if it weren't yours, you just leave them on a picnic table and drive off.
But back to the kindness topic, so in one way it was her being willing to talk about how she really felt about parenting and how exasperated she got sometimes was a kindness for me. Because then when I was in that situation, I was like, hey, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one who feels this way.
Yes.
Whereas somebody could judge, hey, if you're talking about your baby like you could toss it out the window, that's not kind.
Yeah. Well, and so what is kind, Pam? How would we define it?
I would say we define it very differently
than most people. So what's new?
Yes. Okay, so I think what you said about kindness creates more possibilities. And to me, it's like kindness includes everyone. So if I'm like, say my example of, well, kindness is, I let you have your way because it's not kind for me to try to have things my way. I'm actually not being kind to me. I'm not including me in the computation.
And you're not even necessarily being kind to me.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So one thing I would say is kindness includes, it's like includes everyone and creates more for everyone.
Yeah.
Even if it might not look like that on the surface.
Yeah, because you could be kind to, I don't know, this isn't a great example, but suppose you have a couch potato for a husband, or you are a couch potato, and it's considered kind just to, I got a better example. So scratch that. It could be considered kind to keep tying your son's shoes for him, even when he's up to 10 years old. But that's not really a kindness because he doesn't learn how to do it for himself. A lot of times, kindness can actually be an excuse to keep other people dependent on you.
Yeah.
Whether it's whatever's.
Yeah, well, I just thought of a really good example. So, some friends of mine founded and ran for years a very alternative high school, right? It was a private high school.
Uh-huh.
It was a place that really empowered kids, and it was a fantastic place. One of the kids who was there, well, actually, quite a few, had drug issues. But this one kid, he kept coming to school high and stuff like that. And they chose to be very firm. One of the very few rules the school had was no drugs.
Uh-huh.
And they said, if you do this again, you are out. And he did it again, and they kicked him out. And years later, this kid came back and thanked them.
Wow.
And, so you could look at, okay, so kicking a kid who hasn't made it in other schools and finally has a school where they feel comfortable, and now you're kicking him out, that can be seen as not kind. But what he said was it was the wake-up call he needed.
Cool.
And he totally turned everything around after that. He never thought they'd really kick him out.
That's very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what I see us doing is kind of as we go through this hour, coming up with some very different kinds of things of what kindness is for us. And, for me, this one is kindness does not necessarily on the surface look kind.
Yes, exactly.
It's more looking at what it creates and the energy of it. So, they knew that if they gave into this kid, he was going down the tubes.
Well, and he could lead others down the tubes too, and it would undermine the whole idea that the school stood for anything.
Exactly. And it was really hard for them to make that choice and stick with it. And it was great that they then knew it worked out. So we are going to go take a break, and when we come back, we will do more on the secret of kindness.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. Om Times Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids.
Hi, this is Angela Levesque, host of Entanglement Radio. Join me Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern for inspiring conversations with visionaries in spiritual science and conscious healing. Entanglement Radio, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. Transcendent talk for the conscious mind.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Live with medium Lisa Phoenix, Mediumship Messages and Musings, explores mediumship and all things metaphysical. Lisa Phoenix invites you to reach above and beyond your everyday experiences, to explore new dimensions in the spirit world. She will do live readings to connect callers to their loved ones in spirit, shares engaging stories and teachings from her own personal experience, and will have intriguing conversations with other mediums, spiritual teachers, and healers to help you understand the metaphysical world so you can connect to these forces in your day-to-day life. Join your host on this magical and metaphysical journey into the world of spirit every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Irreverent Therapists. I'm Pam.
And I'm Marilyn.
And we are talking about the secret of kindness. So, what else is very different in our approach to kindness?
Well, sometimes I think, like that you were talking about that fellow who came back, it reminded me of a sort of a similar thing. I had a women's group, and a lot of them were into trauma drama, a lot of trauma drama. Oh, I'm suicidal, and oh, this happened, and I told them, I said, look, you guys can be as trauma drama as you want in here, but if you make a suicide attempt or call me and tell me you're suicidal, or anything like that, I'm going to call the sheriff. And one of them did. And I just called the sheriff, and the sheriff came to her house because I knew these were like, what do I want to say? Need for attention.
Mm-hmm.
And she was so furious. But after that, the whole group kind of settled down. I said, look, this is about us changing and growing. How does it serve you to get my attention that way? And I think it created a great deal of change. So I would say that was a kindness.
Yeah. Well, and you know what I was thinking of on the break is, we have a mutual friend who does, chooses to not do anything to acknowledge his birthday, doesn't want anyone doing things to celebrate a birthday. And so, you say, oh, the kind thing is it's his birthday, give him presents, let's do a party or something like that. Let's surprise him. But that actually would not be kind. Like,
no.
That would be taking care of my need to, to let him know I care. But it actually is not honoring of him and his choices in life. So I would say that's another piece of kindness is being honoring of
being honoring of the other, yes,
of who they are.
I just interrupted. Yeah,
and of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and sometimes kindness to ourselves, and that's one thing I really want to talk about too, because when I do a lot of this recovery stuff, I do and healing the commitments to family and that kind of thing. When I bring up kindness, in fact, I have a class called Receiving You and Your Body with Kindness. A lot of people have no idea what it is. They haven't actually experienced kindness in their life, which is kind of shocking and kind of sad. So we have to talk about that. And sometimes I say things like, go out in public. Go to an airport, go to a Starbucks, go to a baseball game, and notice when people are actually being kind to each other. And this I'm talking about more like a parent is really paying attention to their child and putting the child, not just putting them first. That's not exactly, that's not what we've been talking about, but creating with the child a space for more expansion. Yeah. Rather than just screaming at them for being quiet because they're getting embarrassed because the child is, making a lot of noise. So it's, if you don't know what kindness is, I think it's really important to go out and just find examples of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, what that makes me think of, Marilyn, is like the difference between nice and kind is coming up for me.
That's a good one. Yeah.
And the example I want to give, so, okay, I am someone who has had many, 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 many massages in my life. I spent years getting massages every week from different practitioners. And
I'm jealous. I'm having your life.
I know. I have to say, it was very nice. So recently I was at an Access 7-day class, and I had a massage from someone who was there, a practitioner who was there. The level of kindness in his universe, and I would say there was an honoring of me, a willingness to be aware of what my body and I were willing to receive and what worked for my body and what worked for me. I'm not sure how to distinguish this, but, I've had gentle touch. I've had nice touch. This touch, there was a kindness that was so different from anything I've encountered.
Cool.
And and it totally changed all kinds of things for me in my life, for me with my body, to be willing to be present with and receive that. So it's, to me, there's one thing I would say is I think true kindness for most of my life did not exist. Like there wasn't that. Yeah, there was people around being nice or considerate or helpful or those kinds of things. But it's really been, frankly, since I got introduced to Access and meeting up with people who've done a lot of Access, that really true kindness has been in my universe.
Well, one of the things that you said about when you were talking about the massage that struck a chord with me was that basically he was present with you, with your body, present and aware. And I think true kindness has to have that.
Yeah.
Being nice, you can do the formulaic stuff like, oh, hi, it's your birthday, here's your card, or let me do this for you, but it has nothing about being present. It's almost like acting out a role, whereas he was so present with you.
Yes.
That created the space where he could be kind.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Oh, yeah. No, I think that's a really good point. And that, like I started out talking about what I thought kindness was growing up. All of that was, there's certain actions that are kind, or, putting yourself last is kind. It was all about doing and meeting the expectation, and there is nothing about being present and aware in that.
Right. Nothing at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what that means when everything's in a role is that all actions are identified as either good and kind actions, or they're identified as bad and evil actions, even if one of the actions that would be considered evil would actually be kind.
Yeah.
In the sense of, making the most.
I'm just going to interrupt because I forgot to say this earlier. For whoever's listening live, if you would like to comment, ask us questions as we're going about the show, you can do that on our Facebook page, which if you go to Facebook and type in the Irreverent Therapists, you'll find our page. And Marilyn's monitoring to see if anybody posts, and she will bring up your questions. So I just didn't want to forget to say that. Good. So Marilyn,
that was kind to us.
Yes. I'm gonna hope you don't mind if I bring up an example about you, but I was just thinking of this. So, Marilyn is the head of Right Recovery for you, and she works with all kinds of people with addictions and various things going on. And so sometimes she'll get approached by somebody who's saying, hey, I've read about your stuff. I like what you're doing, but I don't have any money. I don't, and they're kind of in their pathetic victim mode.
Oh, can I add to that?
Yes.
Because I know it's even more of, I'm in a terrible crisis now. I'm binging. I'm drinking 2 bottles of alcohol a day. I have no money and no job. What can you do for me?
Yes. Yeah. So basically,
that was almost verbatim.
my old social worker self, right, would have bent, folded, stapled, mutilated myself to try and find how to help this person. But actually, what would that create? That would create them continuing to be in crisis and continuing to feel like they have no ability to change anything and that they have to be rescued. What Marilyn did, which was absolutely brilliant, is and incredibly kind, is to say, hey, sorry, there's nothing I can do for you. Go to AA. I'm paraphrasing, but go to AA, get a job, start. It's like the kindness was you saying, hey, you have to choose something here. I can't rescue you.
Yeah, you have to take some action is a lot of what I said.
Yeah.
And also, just there's a lot of free, she's wanting clearings. I said, there's tons of free stuff on my website. What I did say was, take some of the money you're spending on alcohol and buy Dr. Dane's book, Being You, Changing the World, or buy my book. But the point was for her to take some action because it does, like you're saying, Pam, it would not have done her any good for me to engage. I could have engaged, I could have given her 10 free sessions, and it wouldn't have changed anything.
Right. And because you have done that before.
Oh, I have done that.
And I've done that before.
Right. Being social workers.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. I mean, I remember when I first started being an access facilitator, so I do private sessions with people, I do body work with people, I do classes as an access facilitator. And for the most part, I did not give away sessions. And there were 3 people, kind of when I first got started, that I did. And the amount of change that was created in sessions when people paid me was like exponentially more than the people who didn't pay me. It's like what people were willing to receive when they paid for it was so much more. And so that was one thing that really showed me. It's like, because you might think, oh, the kind thing is this person doesn't have money, I'll give this to them. But what does that create? The ones who paid me, it's like they had to really choose, this is something I'm choosing, I'm going to create with this, I'm going to take this and run with it. And they did.
And there's an energy involved in that, I've noticed, because I've also had someone call me and say, Marilyn, I really want to do a session with you. I only have this amount of money now, but I can promise you I can pay you by the end of the month, the other money, because I have this money coming in from this. Is there any possibility that you do a session with me before I get that other money? But the energy of her was, I'm changing, I'm having it, I'm moving forward. I said, yeah, I'll do that. And I just looked at the energy. We had a session. It was awesome. And she ended up paying me even before she thought she was going to be able to pay me.
Awesome. Oh, that's
but a lot. Yeah, that's about following that energy again, you know?
Yeah, which is actually something we'll talk more about after we have this break, because our music is just about to start. And so when we come back from the break, we'll be talking more about the secret of kindness, and we will definitely go into asking questions and following the energy with this. So we'll be back in just a few moments.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
What if living didn't have to be so serious?
What if you could move beyond your problems with greater confidence and ease than you've ever imagined?
Throw your labels out the window and join the Irreverent Therapists for practical tips and a very different way of approaching the changes you would like to create.
Marilyn Bradford
and Pam Hodling
have empowered hundreds of people to come out of self-judgment, quit looking to experts, and begin to create the lives they desire.
Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Irreverent Therapist Show.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. Om Times Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single Om Times endeavor. Host your show with Om Times Radio Network. Om Times Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Om Times, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
free your mind with Om Times Radio, IOM FM.
And welcome back to the Irreverent Therapists with Pam.
And Marilyn.
You know, Marilyn, I really liked that commercial they did for a show. I think we should listen to that show.
I think we should do. Would it be kind to us? Would it be kind to get our radio show out there more? I kind of think so.
I kind of think so. So tell your friends about our radio show. So we're talking about the secret of kindness. And I wanted to pick up on what you were saying right there at the end, Marilyn, because we were giving that example of you had someone who asked to, hey, I really want to have a session with you. I've got some of the money now. I'll have the rest by the end of the month. And you said the energy of it was that she's really changing. She's really willing to jump in and create something different. And so you said yes. So I wanted us to talk about, because what we're saying is, hey, kindness isn't this set, this is kind, this is not. It's about what's going to create more for everyone. So how do you know what it's going to create? And that's where we get to asking questions.
Yes. Asking questions and trusting yourself to be able to suss out the energy of it. Mm-hmm. Is the energy around this choice expansive or is it contractive? Is it going to create more or is it going to perpetuate something that's really not so great? Like the woman who was in trauma drama, what can you do for me? Mm-hmm. Perpetual rescue. Versus this other woman who's like, I just knew. In that knowing way that she intended to have more in her life and was going to actually utilize the session with me to create more, not less.
Yeah.
Or not keep her stuck somewhere.
Well, an example I think of is my daughter is someone I've taken with me to access classes, some of them to some amazing places and spaces, and I think she kind of had the idea of I was always going to do that.
Right.
But, what I was doing was asking questions. So if I take her with me to this class, what will that create? If I don't take her, what will that create? And, it started what we call not reading, meaning when I ask that question, what I'm getting is, it's not going to create more to have her come. And, so you could look at that as, wow, I'm not taking her with me on this amazing vacation, and that's not kind. But to actually take her to one of these classes when she's not wanting to change, because she had been, kind of really more interested in changing some, and then she hit the teenage, I want to be like my friends.
Right.
I don't want to be different.
Right.
And I'm simplifying it, but basically for whatever's kind of going on with it, the awareness was she's really not interested in change. And if I take her to this class, it's all about change, and it can be highly uncomfortable if you really don't want to change anything. And so the kindness, and it's kind to me, to take her when it reads and to not take her when it doesn't. And it's kind to her, even though she gets really unhappy with me about it. So.
Well, and that's, exactly. And when you were saying that, I was thinking about my mom. When I moved, I had decided that I was going to stay where I'd lived before until my mother died, passed on. But it was beginning to look like she was going to last forever. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
But then it could be a really long time before you got to move.
Well, and the point was that this was not a good environment for me. My friends had either moved, died, or turned out not to be friends. And I knew it was slowly killing me. And I chose to move. And when I did choose to move, because I was very aware that my mother would see this. I don't know if she'd see it as unkind, but it would hurt her in a way, But so what I did was I looked into her universe and I looked at what does she require to be okay with this move. And some of it was, me calling frequently, coming back at Christmas and things like that. But some of it was giving her reasons that made sense to her. I couldn't say to her energetically, Mother, this is killing me. She would have no clue.
That would not go over.
No. But what I said was, I have real good friends there, and I had a situation to move to. And I had some business opportunities. And those were all things that made sense in her universe.
Yeah.
So that by going into her universe, and I learned long ago with Access, thank you very much, to look at her universe, and I do this with other people too, but I think it's been particularly crucial in changing for my mother and me, because we didn't always have the best relationship, and just see what she requires. Yeah. And she doesn't understand what I do. She wouldn't get this radio show, but that doesn't matter. I talk about things that she understands, things that have meaning for her. And that is kindness, I think.
Yeah.
Never giving someone something they can't hear or receive.
Yeah, thank you. I was just going to say that. It's, kindness is being aware of what people can receive and giving them what they can receive and not what they can't.
Yeah.
So, and you put it beautifully. So, I think in our blurb, we talked a lot. It was mostly geared at what is kindness to yourself. Mm-hmm. So I thought maybe we should move into that, because it's like we've been talking a lot about what isn't kindness, yes, and some of what is kindness. But I mean, even for me, Marilyn, when I was looking at, okay, I'm the one kind of driving the show today, saying things as we go into and out of the breaks and everything. I still struggle with what the hell is kindness for me. I'm much better at it than I used to be. And yet it's still, it feels like a very foreign concept, to be kind to me.
Well, can I bring up something about you from recently?
Yes, you may.
We're getting very personal today. One of the things that you said, I think it was last Saturday, was that you may not go to a particular Access class that you've been going to because you looked at the energy and it was not all that light. And to me, your choice, because everyone is like, well, you should go to every class you can go to, and this one's only in Denver, it's so close.
I can drive to it. I don't have to fly around the world.
Yes. Actually, reading the energy and realizing that it's not a match for you right now, I think that's an example of being kind to you. And sometimes being kind to ourselves is going against the grain of what most people would say would be kind. But that really struck me as a kindness.
Yes, it was. Thank you for pointing that out, because I had not acknowledged that.
Yeah. So I think kindness, sometimes kindness to us, like I have some paperwork I haven't done. That's not actually being kind to me to not do it. Yeah. And I'm going to do it. I'm sort of on a new bent here for whatever reason. But yeah, sometimes being kind to us is doing things that we don't really feel like doing, but the results will make our life so much easier.
Yeah.
Kindness to ourselves can be processing painful abuse history, if that's what it's going to take for us to move on. Mm-hmm. Kindness can be acknowledging that someone who appeared to be a friend really isn't treating us well. Yeah. And that may be a painful awareness, but you know what? I had a couple of friends like that at pre-Access and in the beginning of Access, and Gary actually helped me see that. These people are not friends, Marilyn. They're only okay if you're being less than them, and as you're expanding and creating more, they're not happy. So kindness was letting go of those friends, even if it meant I really didn't have many friends where I was.
Yeah.
I had them in Access, but so.
Well, you know what I thought of when you talked about my acknowledging that it didn't really read to energetically to go to this class that I'd been planning to go to, and honoring that. What it made me think of is, my husband and I, my ex-husband and I, our choice to separate was totally looking at the energy of, if we choose to be together, what will that create? If we choose not to be
Yes.
together, what will that create? And it was there wasn't a problem. We weren't not getting along. We weren't arguing. We were just willing to always be looking at what's being created by our choice to be together. And
Yeah.
for the first time in like 5 years, the energy was like, oh, it actually creates more to not be together. So in 5 minutes, we chose to not be together. And it took us about an hour and a half to work out the practicalities of it, and then we were separated.
And it didn't have to be big trauma drama.
Yeah. And so, and it's that willingness because most of the world judges separating when you've been married for, gosh, I don't even know, 16, 17 years, how long we'd been together, as there must be something wrong, there must be something terrible, or you wouldn't do this. So being kind to you includes being willing to choose what's going to create more. And this is sort of what you already said. Even when it goes against what everyone thinks you should be doing or thinks is right or can understand. I mean, people could not get it that they but you guys have a great relationship. Why are you separating? And it was kind of like your mother. We knew that nobody would get it if we said we're following the energy. So we just didn't give them any reasons. But
Right. But I think what it really comes down to, Pam, and looking at that, is kindness to ourselves is honoring what's true for us, no matter what.
Yeah.
And not changing ourselves for anyone.
Yes.
Unless we truly choose to, for whatever reason. Like, in a way, you could say I changed myself for my mom, but I was looking at what it would create.
Yeah. Well, and there's that, it's the honoring ourselves and not changing ourselves for anyone. And you could look at that and say, oh, that's very selfish. But when you're doing it from the kingdom of we, which we'll talk about what that is when we come back from our break, it creates something very different.
Yes.
So we will be back in just a few minutes with more on the secret of kindness.
The cutting edge of conscious radio, Om Times Radio, IOM FM.
Dr. Kevin here, and I want to invite you every Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, to join me on the Dr. Kevin Show, where we have a diversity of guests who help you step outside the box, behind the curtain, and see what a load of crap is going on in the world today, so you have more information with which to make better decisions. We'll see you there. Namaste.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. Om Times Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single Om Times endeavor. Host your show with Om Times Radio Network. As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. Join Elliot Jollish, the business therapist, each Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern for the Elliot Jollish Hour, as he interviews business experts on your behalf. And you're invited to email your business questions to questions@ecjgroup.com for answers, live, on air every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Elliot Jollish Hour. The future of Internet radio is here. Om Times Radio, IOM FM.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Irreverent Therapists. And we are talking about the secret of kindness. So right before the break, Marilyn, I mentioned kindness from the space of the kingdom of we. So I thought we might go into that a bit more.
Yeah, and the kingdom of we is not the easiest concept, I think, for a lot of people to get. It's not about pleasing everybody. It's about whatever it is you're doing is going to create. It's the awareness. Well, there are lots of ways to talk about it. For me, I better talk about it from my point of view. It's the awareness of the interconnectedness of all things, that when we make a choice, it doesn't just apply to us. And if you're making a choice and you're looking at the energy, you can see that this creates more for everyone. Even with my moving, for instance, I looked at that a lot. In a way, it does create more for my mother too. She likes me to be happy. She's so thrilled that I'm happy out here. And she knew I was miserable where I was. So even though it's been hard for her, it also has created for her. And sometimes it seems really difficult, like in a divorce or something like that. But if you're looking at not judging the choice as good or bad, but what is this actually going to create for everyone and everything? I mean, to me, that's what the kingdom of we is.
Yeah. Well, and I think, that kind of ties back into what we started out talking about, that old idea of kindness is I'm going to let you have the big piece of cake and I'm going to not take care of myself and take care of you and all of that. Mm-hmm. From the kingdom of we, that's only looking at what's this doing for one person. The kingdom of we is what honors me and what honors you, what creates more for me and you. But it then takes it even bigger because it's like, okay, so say I'm looking at something that in my, friendship with Marilyn and I'm making a choice and I'm aware that's going to create more for Marilyn and me. Well, what's it going to create for the world? The kingdom of we includes all of it. And when you start looking at things from that side, you might be like, how do I do that? I don't know how to do that. It's really cool. You ask a question. What can I choose here that would create something greater for me, this person, and the world? It's that simple. Absolutely. Like if you ask, you'll have the awareness. And it's, you mentioned judgment, like Marilyn, there's no judgment. Like to me, in kindness, there is no judgment. If you're in judgment, there is no kindness.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And when you start looking at things as what can I choose here from the space of the kingdom of we, what will create more for me and everyone, from that space, there is no judgment. There is no right and wrong choice to make. It's you're willing to choose what will create more.
Yeah. And I think kindness is also, let's see what I want to say. It's not judging. It's not taking things personally. It's not judging, like if you say, Marilyn, I know you were going to meet for dinner, but I just don't want to. I really need to work. From me not going, oh man, how could she cancel? She doesn't like me. It's recognizing.
I'm not important.
Right. It's recognizing that it's insane to take pretty much anything personally.
Yeah.
And that you can honor everyone and be kind to you by not judging and going, or asking a question, what's right about this I'm not getting? I wonder what else I could do with this evening or what, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's doing trauma drama is not kind.
It's not kind to you or anybody else.
No, or anybody else. Doing separation and how could you and blame, all the distractor implants are not kind.
Yeah. Yeah, and that I love how when you were going to she doesn't like me, and I was like, that is so like my daughter right now. She's doing massive teen hormonal trauma things. And it's because she's taking everything so personally. It's like anything anyone's choosing is about her. And,
Wow.
the times that she does kind of come out of it and use some access tools and, clear things and interesting point of view. I have that point of view. She has a really easy time.
Yes.
And when she does it, she's just like mired in the trauma.
And really angry that you're not buying into it and making it serious.
Right. And so you might look at it and say, well, the kind thing would be to take it very seriously and, and kind of wallow with her. But actually, for me, the kind thing is to be the space of, hey, there's a different possibility here. You don't have to choose it, but something else is possible. And, to be the space of no judgment about whatever's going on.
That's very cool.
Which is also what you can do when people around you aren't being kind to themselves, is you can be kind to you and have that invitation to a different possibility.
Yeah. Rather than going down, kindness is never going down to someone's pathetic level. It's always, for me anyway, we don't usually use terms like never noise, but it's about being you and inspiring people to come up to that level.
Yeah.
Showing them a different possibility rather than mirroring their trauma drama, or I like what you said, get in there and wallow with her. That was a good one.
Well, and what you just talked about is totally different than what most people consider, like what we tend to do is like, oh, if my friend's having a bad day, I'll have a bad day with them.
Right. Exactly.
Or I've got to get in there and talk with them and really hear everything they have to say and let them wallow in it until they're ready to come out of it. So what if a different possibility for being kind is, hey, I'm having an awesome day. Why don't you join me?
Right. But you don't get it, Pam. You don't get how significant this is.
How much I'm suffering.
How much I'm suffering. Right, that one. Absolutely. Yeah, and one of the things it does is it begins to show people that they actually have choice. I know a lot of people feel captive to their moods and their trauma drama, but we never have to be captive. We can, that whole thing, happiness is just a choice. You got 10 seconds. What are you going to choose now? Well, I'm going to choose to be happy.
Right. No, Marilyn, I only have 10 seconds left to live. I'm going to choose to wallow in my trauma drama because I'm so attached to it.
Because it's so meaningful.
Yeah.
It defines me. I know who I am if I'm hysterical and having trauma drama and all the world is against me.
So people listening might be feeling like we're being incredibly irreverent right now.
How does it get any better than that?
Any better than that? So, and that might be also how people respond to you if you're willing to be the space of kindness to you, not buying the trauma drama, and choosing from the energy of what's going to create more for everybody. So, say your friend's sitting there doing what we were just, laughing about of, oh, my life is so bad. And if you're not right in here with me, you don't care about me and all this stuff. It's like in that moment, you have a choice. It's like you can validate that point of view and that trauma drama, or you can say, hey, what's going to actually create more right now? What's going to create more for me, them, and the world? And choose to be the space you be, which might have no judgment, no point of view, and not buy the trauma drama. What I've found is every time I choose that greater possibility, it creates more for me and everyone around me.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's more fun.
And it's more fun. And it's a lot more fun.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to make sure we mention Marilyn actually has written many, many blogs for the Access Consciousness website, accessconsciousness.com. And Marilyn, right before the show, we were talking about you have a blog that you wrote, posted there on kindness. So what was that called? And how do people find it?
Well, I think if they just go to the Access Consciousness site, and then there's a drop-down menu under blog, and you choose the Access Consciousness blog, and in the right-hand corner, there's a way to type in, to search for something, just put in kindness, because it's the first one to pop up. And it just gives some ideas that we've been talking about kindness. And also, really looks at, if you haven't experienced it, here's some things that you can do. But if you're still more interested in kindness or interested in finding out more about it, that could be a good thing to do.
Well, and the other thing I wanted to make sure and mention, one of the energy processes we do in Access is called Access Bars. And the bars are about receiving and kind of opening up greater possibilities for you with receiving, as well as, clearing a lot of points of view you have. So, one of the things we've been talking about is kindness is really about being aware of receiving. Both what the people you're dealing with can receive, but also you being willing to receive. That's one of the things with that massage therapist. He was being incredibly kind. I was also finally at a place where I could receive it.
Yes.
So, if that receiving piece is something you'd really like to have more of, finding an Access consciousness practitioner near you who can run bars is another possibility.
That's a great suggestion. Yeah. Kindness is having your bars run.
Yes.
That's about pretty much any time.
Yeah, absolutely. So next week, our show is going to be Cause and Effect, the toolkit for limiting yourself. So come back next week. You can email us through our website, theirreverenttherapist.com. You can chat with us through Facebook, the Irreverent Therapist page, and we look forward to talking with you more next week on the Irreverent Therapist.
Yippee! Bye-bye!